Merry Christmas, community. And if you'd like to wish the rest of community Merry Christmas, you can do that in the chat right now. I'll tell you what, there is no night that is met with more anticipation, more expectancy, and more hope than Christmas Eve. And if you're like me or other kids, both big and small, the thing you're probably anticipating, the thing you're expecting, the thing you're hopeful about on Christmas Eve is probably this right here. Presents, right? Ooh, I wonder what's in there. This gift, this big gift, it actually reminds me of a story. This is something where Sue and I, as a parents, I mean, we totally blew it. Our youngest, Caleb, was probably, I'm guessing, around 3 or 4 at the time. Definitely old enough to understand Christmas and getting presents, all that kind of stuff. And underneath the Christmas tree, for Caleb, was the biggest gift for the entire family. It was at least this big, but the biggest present. And so from the moment he wakes up on Christmas morning, which is when we open all our gifts, he's just like this. Literally he's just like this because he is so excited because he got the biggest gift. And of course we know if you got the biggest gift, it's gonna be the best gift. That's the way it works. And the way we do it at the Ferguson house is we go around the circle, kind of opening gifts one at a time. I'll open a gift, and I'll thank somebody and show everybody. Sue will do the same thing, then Amy, and then Josh, and then Caleb. And of course there's, several gifts, so we do this, kind of drag it out throughout the morning and really enjoy it. And Caleb, he's showing remarkable amounts of delayed gratification for a little dude. So finally, all the other gifts, have been opened. And he has saved the biggest gift for the last. And he's, of course, imagining what could possibly be in a box so big. And I think back then, he was really hoping for like a Nintendo GameCube. And this was big enough, it probably could hold 2 or 3 Nintendo GameCubes. And that's what he's thinking. I don't know what we were thinking as parents. I think we were, we didn't have a lot of money, so I think we were probably going like, hey, how can we just wrap as many things as possible so the kids get lots of gifts? This was not a great parent moment. So Caleb, he rips off the wrapping. He tears into the box and he reaches down inside and he pulls out a car seat. It was a total fail. He just begins crying. The little guy just begins crying. And I'm like, come on, kid. You know how much a car seat costs? You gotta be grateful that I'm thinking about your safety. No, I didn't say that. As a parent, I felt terrible. Sue felt terrible. We all felt terrible. And I'll tell you, for a 3-year-old, a car seat is not too high on your list as far as presents that you want at Christmas time. And I was thinking about this too. I was thinking about this big box and that gift. In some ways, isn't this kind of like 2020? We're looking forward to this big year, 2020, a new decade. People talked about a 2020 vision with anticipation, expectancy, and hope. What is it going to bring? And what do we get? I felt like the year kind of gave us a car seat. We're going to strap you in. We're going to keep you safe. We're going to keep you secure. We're not going to let you get hurt, which is all a good idea, but just not that much fun. Let me ask you this. What are you hoping for this Christmas? Deep down inside, what are you really longing for? And I know there's kind of some big picture things, and maybe this is the first to come to mind. I just hope this pandemic goes away. I just want to be able to spend time with family and friends whenever I want. But maybe as you look a little deeper, what else are you hoping for? Because I think for some of us, we're probably hoping for love. Hoping that this will be the year that we'll find love and are loved in return. Maybe for some of you, you're also saying, I want this to be the year where I finally figure out where I can make a difference. So I have a purpose to the hours, my existence here on life. For others of us, maybe it's things that are a little closer to home. It's your family. And you're going, I want this to be the year that our marriage finally becomes everything we dreamed it could be. That's what I'm hoping for. Or maybe you're just hoping for reconciliation with some family. Or maybe there's a family member who it's like they're lost. And all your hopes are invested in them. Or for others, maybe the hope, it's so big, it would take like a miracle, and that's your hope. And after a year like 2020, it's easy for us to lose hope. Because, 2020, it feels like a year that, hey, I want a Nintendo GameCube and I got a car seat. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and grab your candle. Earlier, Sherry asked each of you to go ahead and grab a candle, and there's a reason for that. We want this candle to be a symbol of hope. We want to represent whatever it is that you're hoping for right now. And I want every one of you to imagine, what are you hoping for as we go into this new year on this Christmas Eve? I know what I'm hoping for. Now, I'm going to ask you to light it in a little bit, but I just want this to be a symbol for right now. See, for a long time, candles have been a part of the Christian tradition. We would light candles, as a sign and symbol of hope, things we're hoping for. In fact, the Advent season is a Christmas season that's highlighted by the light of candles. 4 weeks out, every week, we light a candle in anticipation of Christmas. On the Christmas Eve, we actually light another candle with symbolizing the arrival, that hope has come and the arrival of the birth of Christ. And so Advent is this Christian tradition that reminds us of Jesus' birth. And that it wasn't an event, this birth, it wasn't just an event that was hoped for like a few weeks or a few months, but actually for years and years. Because we go back and we tell the story from the Old Testament of God's people, how for hundreds and hundreds of years, God's people were hoping, just hoping, with anticipation the Messiah would come. Because they believed he would be the king and that he would give them what they all longed for and hoped for, and that was freedom. And here's why, because, for us, we've had a really, really rough year, right? By all accounts, it's been a rough year. But God's people, if you go back and read it, they had a really, really rough history. First they're enslaved in Egypt. Then you find they're exiled to Babylon. Then they finally do get their own land, and they come under the oppression of the Roman Empire. And what are they hoping for throughout every one of those generations? They're hoping to be free. They wait, they wait, they wait. They hope, they hope, they hope. They hope for this Messiah would finally come. And he doesn't come. And then on top of all that, there's like 400 years. Imagine this, 400 years of silence. Not a word spoken from God. Not a glimmer of hope for this Messiah. 400 years is like 400 consecutive 2020s. Imagine that. Imagine a whole lifetime of 2020s. And not only that, but it's actually their lifetime, their parents' lifetime, their grandparents' lifetime, their great-grandparents' lifetime, and their great-great-grandparents' lifetime. And so God's people had to be thinking at that point, like, where is God? Where did he go? What's he doing? Why is he so silent? And I can imagine that the anticipation of getting what they wanted seemed to be fading away. The dreams seemed to be disappearing, and they were starting to lose all hope. And maybe over the last 9 or 10 months, you've kind of felt the same way. You felt your own confidence kind of dissipating. And you felt hope kind of slipping away. And maybe you've never said it out loud, but you've even kind of thought to yourself, where did God go in my life? What's he doing? Why does he seem so silent? And you're not feeling much hope. Let me warn you, from having observed lots and lots of people over the years, let me warn you what happens when hope vanishes. When hope vanishes, when it's gone, here's what happens. We settle. We end up settling for far less than God's best for our life when hope disappears. We give in. When hope vanishes, we give in to things that are actually destructive and can ultimately destroy us. When hope disappears and vanishes, we actually give up. We give up the fight for all the things that are good and right in this life. And then finally, we just walk away from it all. That's what happens when hope disappears. I want to introduce you to a couple of community attenders, Jill and Shane Diaz. They're a remarkably resilient, upbeat couple. But I'll tell you what, when 2020 came around, they found themselves starting to lose hope. And here's Jill and Shane to tell you their story.
I'm Shane Diaz. This is my wife, Jill. We have two young little girls, Rocklyn and Maeve, and we've been going to community for just over a year now.
The summer of 2019 was kind of rough going into that season. I was just really tired from motherhood, and just kind of life was kind of wearing down on me a little bit, and I just was really desperate to find a space that I could have community. The first day I remember sitting in the very back and just that first worship song that was played, and I just felt the tears just wash over me. And so I started going to community without Shane for 1 or 2 Sundays, and then I started bringing him along with me.
I did not grow up in the church, so I didn't know what we were missing, so to speak. Didn't know what we didn't know, or I didn't know, on the church side. That morning, I'll never forget, I didn't want to go. I just wanted to stay at home, do some things outside. It was a nice, call it summer day in July. And something told me, get in the car, threw on some decent clothes, and ran out to the car before it was pulling out the driveway.
Literally.
Literally, yeah. I mean, that true story. Something was pulling me and telling me to go to church. And I didn't realize that until after the first service stopped, that this is a place where we can fit in.
A friend of mine who I knew prior to coming to community was in a small group already, and she kind of was like, hey, why don't you join our small group? We meet on Mondays. It's just been a really special group of women that I've really loved being a part of, and it's helped me grow in my faith so much more than I ever thought it would.
Right around that same time that we started going to community, there were some challenges that were put in front of us of life's dealings, of course.
I had a melanoma diagnosis, which was terrifying. Luckily, it was able to be removed, and all was fine. But then in that same week, we also got the call that my dad had stage 3 lung cancer. Technically, he's my stepdad, but he has been 100% my father figure my whole life. When he got that diagnosis, it kind of all came crashing down that somebody who's been a rock in my whole life could potentially not be here, which ended up being the case. We lost him in June, and he was just the best. He was the best grandpa. He was the best dad. It was a painful person to lose.
And this year, when you have one more thing that happens, like happened to them, it's easy to lose hope. But do you know what Christmas means? Christmas means that even when hope has vanished, there's still reason for anticipation. That the dream has not disappeared, and that all hope is not lost. Because, and here's why, on a silent night 2,000 years ago, I want to explain to you what happened after generation of waiting and hope, and even 400 years of silence. All of a sudden, this angel appears to some shepherds. And in Luke chapter 2, starting in verse 9, an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. These shepherds were terrified. But the angel said to them, do not be afraid. You know what, I think that is a phrase that God means specifically for some of you listening right now. Do not be afraid. That may be the one thing he wants you to hear. And here's why. Because I bring you good news. And he goes on, good news that will cause you great joy. And it's for all the people. It's not just for others, it's for you. It's meant specifically for you, all the people. Because today, and here's the source of the joy and the hope, today in the town of David, a Savior's been born to you, and he is Messiah, the Lord. Here's the thing. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, generations of waiting and hoping, anticipating, 400 years of silence, hope has come. And hope shows up, and hope's name is Jesus. And here's the good news. Hope has come specifically for you, and his name is Jesus. Hope has come because Jesus can help you get you through what you're going through. Hope has come because Jesus can heal whatever it is that's broken inside you. Hope has come because Jesus gave you power in that area where you feel so powerless. Hope has come because Jesus is able to forgive. He can forgive you and then allow you to forgive and empower you to forgive others. Hope has come because Jesus can redeem pain. He can take your stuff from your past, your painful past, drag it into the future and turn it into great good. Hope has come for you. Hope has come, and his name is Jesus. Here's Jill and Shane, and I want you to hear how they found hope.
In hindsight, having community and having God put community in our view and in our lives just prior to that was, I'll say, was kind of God's doing in a way.
It was the one thing that just got me through every day. I was so grateful to have community during that time. Coming back to church every Sunday just felt like a little piece of hope, a little piece of light.
At the onset of the pandemic, we were consistently going to community. We were fostering this growth, if you will, in God and in the church. And it was exciting every day. Every Sunday you look forward to it. And you tried to, carry that word on and carry the message of the week with you. That was taken away, certainly. And luckily, I think in terms of my opinion and my viewpoint, I was able to find the small group. Small group was a basis for me to continue to fuel my growth in God, Jesus. And also a closeness with guys in the church that I didn't know.
My dad, ironically, even though he was going through chemo and all of that during this time, he was the same energetic self his entire time of being on treatment. The hardest part of the pandemic was not seeing him, because that was his last 3 months of life. So that was the hardest part. That was the hardest part. I grew up in the church. I was baptized as a baby, but I've just always loved just even seeing baptisms happen at church. For me, it was that accountability factor that I was on this journey, and that even though things were falling apart around me, literally, I still wanted to say, like, I'm following Jesus. I'm committed to this life of trying to be the best disciple I can be. The more I talked about it with Shane, he kind of started to like, well, should I do it? And I was like, that's your choice. I'm not going to pressure you into it, but.
Motivation was small group. The continued efforts to grow with God and even more intimate and close, along with knowing Jill wanted to do it. It was like, this is a good time to do this. This is a good time to like commit to being with him on this journey in life, right? And make that proclamation among what people we can. As you come up out of the water, you feel like this is the place to do it. This was the right move. This is the first furthering step of my followership with God.
And so having that kind of tattooed in my brain that like, you got baptized in front of people, you made that proclamation. It lingers still with me, that experience. In thinking about like how this year has played out, I've thought a lot about the peace that I've received in certain moments. My small group leader we were talking and I was kind of lamenting about everything. This was after my dad had just passed. I was just like spilling all of the burden onto her. And she just stopped me and she said, have you given it up to Jesus? Have you given it up? And I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, I mean, like, get down on your knees and pray and just give it up. Like, let him take it. And that's what I'm really trying to do, is to let him take it. It's hard, but I'm so thankful for that peace, that just if I stop in the middle of my day and just say like, I'm giving it up to you, Lord, and then I feel it. I mean, I literally feel it. My shoulders lower, my heart rate slows down. It's a reminder that like there is hope if we're willing to give it up and give it up to God and let his peace wash over us.
I love that story. I mean, it's one now of hundreds and hundreds of stories of people who found their way back to God here and have found hope. But I also love that story tonight because it is a Christmas story. Because in the middle of a year of excruciating grief and pain, Shane and Jill, they found peace and they found hope. And this Christmas, what it brings to you, it brings specifically right to you tonight, hope. Don't you want hope? In a moment, community music is going to lead us in a song that's a reminder of the night when hope arrived. If you feel that hope, or if you want that hope, would you just kind of quietly either maybe sing or just hum that song with us? I love what one of our worship leaders says. She'll say, we sing because we believe, and sometimes we believe because we sing. And so would you do that if you want that hope? Or if you feel that hope? Would you go ahead and do that? Just hum or quietly sing as we celebrate together the hope that came in Jesus on that oh holy night.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night
Every year at Community, there's another song that we sing on Christmas Eve, and it's Silent Night. And every year, it's a song that brings hope. I'm joining you now from my living room where I wanted to celebrate this with you. If you will, go ahead and grab a candle. And remember, this candle is a symbol of hope. Maybe it's a hope that you have or just a hope that you want. And in a moment, we'll have some of the other Community Christian staff also join us. There's something about singing this song that brings hope, and I think maybe it has to do with kind of the story of how it came to be. See, Silent Night was actually originally written by a guy named Joseph Mohr of Obendorf, Austria. He was a priest. He was actually a priest in a parish, you're going to love this, at St. Nicholas Church. I'm not making it up. So Father Mohr was the priest at St. Nick's. And he must have been kind of a character because his superiors would often say of him, he was just too cheerful to be a priest. He would be about town smoking a pipe and playing his guitar and singing songs. I think I would have liked him. But there's something about coming together and singing that song. Because the first time they sang that song was in 1818. It was a year not dissimilar to 2020, in that it was a time where it really lacked hope. There was war across Europe, and even that little town where the church was, there had been tremendous flooding that had done great damage to the church and actually destroyed the church organ. And everybody thought, if you don't have an organ, you can't sing Christmas carols. You can't sing Christmas carols, you can't have Christmas Eve services. So Father Joseph, in a desperate attempt to rescue Christmas Eve, takes this poem that he had written, has someone put music to it, and then on Christmas Eve, he pulls out his guitar before that little parish, and he sings the song, and they sing along with him. And it brings hope. And it has brought hope for generations and generations ever since. Because it declares a hope that Jesus has come. And that is a hope for everyone. On this Christmas Eve, the good news is hope has come. Because Jesus has come, and there's hope for everyone. So if you want that hope, or if you have that hope, go ahead and take that candle right now and light your candle. Hope has come. Hope for everyone.
Shine.